I know leftovers can be a big point of contention in a household waste, you know, things getting shoved to the back of the fridge, or just making too much and maybe the family doesn't want to eat the next day. Today I have my 10 favorite leftovers recipes. So there's 10 different fabulous ways to use leftovers in creative and delicious recipes that you're gonna love.
We're gonna start off with a chopped power salad with chicken, and I had leftover marinated chicken and some salad from our Father's Day barbecue, and my mother-in-law actually already like put some salad and some chicken together. She's like, this will be perfect for a lunch, which is true, but I wanted to beef it up even more. So I am going to kind of separate some things out and figure out how to make it look prettier than it initially was and use what I already have. So I am admittedly a fan of the big salad, so this whole salad is going to be just for me, but I love a lot of veggies and I enjoy it. So I separated out my cucumber and my tomatoes because I'm going to slice up those tomatoes, and then I'm going to kind of put everything in the salad bowl like, I don't know, a clock or like pie pieces. I have some feta cheese here, and we're also going to add in some sunflower seeds. It's great to just save recipes of salads that you want to make, and then when you end up having leftovers that kind of work with that, then you can actually add everything in without buying all of the ingredients for it. So as I said, I'm just slicing up my tomatoes, and we are going to make a salad with those halved grape tomatoes, some quartered cucumbers, diced grilled chicken. And if you like pepperoncini or some spicy peppers, you can totally add that here as well, or some slivered red onion. Both those things did not sound appealing to me today, and I didn't have any pepperoncini on hand anyway. So, you know, use what you have and kind of make the best of it. Then I'm adding about a, I don't know, quarter cup of feta cheese and a little less than a quarter cup of sunflower seeds. And the salad is beautiful. It's amazing. It's amazing how you can take something that, yes, it's a few ingredients, but if you make it look beautiful, you're going to want to eat it so much more. And it's a great way to stay healthy, because if you see something pretty and you want to eat it, then you're in a lot better shape, and maybe you can avoid those less healthy items and avoid spending tons of money on like a pre-made salad or something like that, because this didn't actually cost me anything extra. I already had all the stuff in my house. So just something to think about when you have leftovers to use. Same thing here. We had some leftover burgers from making them on the grill, and yes, I could send my husband with just a burger, but you know, it's not the best the next day. So I had an idea. I'm like, I am going to make a Big Mac wrap. We are going to take, I had some spinach from the garden. I had wraps on hand. I have put some diced up pickles, which I already had, cut my hamburger in half and put a little diced up onion on top. Then I had some Thousand Island from making Reubens a little while ago. And I know it's not exactly Big Mac sauce, but I mean, is it? It's pretty much Big Mac sauce. So you just want to put that over the top of the burger and put a little bit of cheese. I didn't have like sliced cheese. If I did, I would have put that on there, but I just had shredded cheddar, and I'm like, you know what? We'll put that on. Who cares? I think it's probably American on a real Big Mac, but it's going to give even more flavor. And then wrap it up. And that's a pretty delicious lunch that's a little something different with a leftover burger. For this next leftover idea, I had some leftover steak tips from my marinade video, which I'll put down below in the description box for you if you want to check out how to marinate some amazing meat. But if you have leftover chicken or steak, really will do in these. And then any sort of lettuce, or I happen to have some spinach from my garden, put that in a wrap. I always try and keep these large wraps around because I just feel like they make great sandwiches, and they're a little bit more expensive. I think like the larger ones usually run like $2 to $3 for a package of them. However, I find that I will end up making like breakfast burritos and wraps or lunch wraps so much more often if I have them, and that saves us from eating out. So in the long run, sometimes you think things are a more expensive item, but if they're convenient to you and they will save you from eating a fast food restaurant or something like that, then you should buy them and you should make those things with that item versus eating out. So I'm just slicing up my steak, and we're going to put that in there. We're going to make some delicious steak wraps, and I think chicken here would work just fine too. Any type of steak is going to work. I have steak tips, but if you had like a strip steak or even like a London broil, I love a marinated London broil, which is a very inexpensive cut of steak, and then sliced up the next day in a sandwich, and it is just phenomenal. Now I'm just slivering some red onion, but if you have like caramelized onion or some marinated red onion, that would also taste really, really good in this. I also happen to have a ripe avocado ready to eat, so I was like, all right, perfect. We're going to throw that into our wraps as well. And in a sandwich like this, grated carrot goes a long way because it gives a lot of color, which I was talking about that visual on that salad earlier. It makes a big difference to have things that are beautiful and healthy, and it gives a little bit of flavor that is really nice. To fully assemble your wrap, you can put this on in any order, so I'm just starting with some steak. And then at the end here, we're going to add on some Chick-fil-A sauce, which I've been seeing at my local grocery store, and I grabbed some, and it's really, really good. So if you grab some of that, you're going to be all set. I'm also going to put a recipe to make Chick-fil-A sauce down below. I believe it's just like mayonnaise, honey mustard, and barbecue sauce. That's my memory of it. Same thing with that Big Mac sauce. Like, you can just make your own Big Mac sauce, and I'll put a recipe for that too. So if you have those things at home, you don't have to worry about, I don't have Thousand Island or I don't have Chick-fil-A sauce. It's super easy to make with condiments you usually have in your fridge. And then the only other thing I added to this wrap, aside from that Chick-fil-A sauce, is another little bit of shredded cheddar cheese. And then you just want to wrap those up, and they are so bright, so delicious, and such an amazing rollover meal. Like, I love using leftovers for stuff like this. Also great in the summer because it's a no-cook meal, so you're not going to have any extra heat. I want to thank you all, as always, for being here today. I hope you enjoyed these recipes. I hope you got some great ideas for your leftovers and that you are extremely inspired, because that's what I'm here for. I want to help inspire you just like everyone else on YouTube inspires me. And you guys inspire me in the comments by making such amazing comment ideas. Like, show me what your favorite leftover recipe is down there, because I feel like we're getting as much out of the comment section lately as we are out of the videos. And I just appreciate you all so much because it's just so amazing and so fun to be part of such a wonderful community. Now, I know everyone's trying their best to not waste food, and next I'm actually going to show you how to make a bone broth or even a vegetable broth out of your scraps. But there are some things, some scraps that you just can't save, and for that I want to show you my Lomi Bloom. It has really changed the way I think about food waste. Lomi transforms my trash into treasure with the push of a button. The Lomi turns my food scraps into plant food in as little as 4 hours. This is just like a tabletop appliance that is so wild. Now, there are many benefits to this. One is that it kind of takes care of that smelly garbage situation, and it turns my waste into nutrient-rich Lomi earth that I can feed my plants, lawn, and garden instead of sending it to the landfill. I make my life easier and my plants a lot happier. And not only are my plants happier, but now the new Lomi app lets me track my impact and earn points each time I use it. And the points actually redeem for freebies from Lomi and other great brands. So I'm earning and I'm making plant food and I'm not wasting. I'm loving my new routine with Lomi. I use my eggshells every morning, my coffee grounds, and even in this case, it was a banana because one of the kids was sick and I didn't want to put, like, they had touched it and then I didn't want to put it in the freezer. So Lomi was the perfect place to place this banana in this case. So my everyday waste is taken care of. It turns into plant food. It's basically a win-win. So whether you're trying to reduce your waste or just feed your plants or both, Lomi is the perfect choice. Head to lomi.com/mealswithmaria and use the promo code mealswithmaria to get $50 off your Lomi today. That's $50 off when you head to lomi.com/mealswithmaria and use promo code mealswithmaria at checkout. I want to thank Lomi so much for sponsoring today's video, and I thank all of you for always supporting my channel. Next up, we're making that chicken broth or bone broth from a leftover chicken. This is an amazing way to use the chicken. And then we're also going to make 2 different meals out of it because there's so much chicken left on when you're making a whole chicken. So really going to try to utilize as much as possible. So I'm just cutting up an onion and some carrots, and we're going to use those for a bone broth. So I'm going to pour all of my chicken bones, and I even put my chicken skins. I put everything in there because I think all of it has goodness that I want to get into my bone broth. Then you want to pour 8 cups of water into the pan, and we're going to, with a little bit of salt and about a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar. That will help the collagen come out of the bones. And we're going to let this simmer for about 6 to 8 hours before even adding those vegetables. And you'll probably need to add water as time goes on because it got really, really low for me. So it depends on how you want to make your broth. If you want it to be super gelatinous and just get a small amount from it, that's totally fine. You can not add water, just watch it. You don't want to burn anything. But 6 hours later, you're going to want to add in those vegetables and then cook it for another 10 hours. So a 16 full hours. Now what I did, I started mine early in the morning and I did not get a full 16 hours in. So you'll see that my broth is jiggly, but I wanted to turn it off before I went to bed because I didn't want to wake up at 3 in the morning for my bone broth. Just personal opinion. You also do not have to go the full bone broth route. You can just make a simple broth that takes like an hour or two. So I'll put a recipe down in the description box for that as well. I'm just storing mine in mason jars, and if you want to put those in the freezer, you just want to leave an inch of water. My preferred way to freeze this though is in a Ziploc bag because you can just slide it out and actually defrost it right in your cans, but I wanted to can mine so that I could use it in recipes just in this upcoming week. I'm going to put a date on these and they will last for about 7 days, and if you want to go any longer, then throw it into a Ziploc bag and put it in the freezer. Now with some of this leftover chicken, we're going to make a chicken sweet potato skillet. Now this was a very busy week for us, and I want to encourage you to plan your meals out and make it so that a busy week doesn't mean an excuse to order fast food or pizza or anything like that. I mean, you totally can if you want to, but you can still save money on these weeks because you can find the time to make things ahead of time. So it's earlier in the day here. I left my dishwasher open, not sure why. So I had some time at this time, so I figured I was actually going to make my meal for the night, so I had everything all chopped up and ready to go for when I got back from karate with the boys. And I made the entire other meal right after that so that I could just pop that in the oven when we got back from baseball the next night. So we were all set for 2 meals just by prepping everything ahead of time. Now to pick these meals, I followed my own advice and I shopped my pantry. I came up with like 6 or 7 different recipes that I could use leftover chicken in. And then I went through my own pantry and I said, what do I have that fits into these boxes? Good news was I had everything to make this awesome chicken sweet potato skillet. And you've seen me make something like this before. It's something my family really enjoys. I like it because it really does make me feel good from the inside out. It's a healthy pantry meal, but it's also very inexpensive. With this recipe, everything I had did not fit perfectly. The recipe actually called for 2 sweet potatoes and I only had 1, so I figured, okay, I can fill in different ways. Maybe we add some rice to this. I had some extra tomatoes and they were kind of not quite good enough to eat in a salad, but I figured I can just throw them into this dish because why not? They're still going to taste good in here. We're already going to put some salsa in, so we might as well just put some fresh tomatoes and cook those up too. Waste not, want not. The recipe also called for some additional vegetables such as zucchini and red pepper, which I didn't have. I think you could have added really any fresh vegetable that you had in the fridge or even some frozen vegetables and it would be fine. That's the beauty of a dish like this where you're doing like a skillet meal. You can just add whatever you have on hand. If you don't have one of the items for this meal, you could either double up on some black beans, add in a can of corn, some plain rice, more sweet potato. In my case, I happen to have that bag of success rice that I'd actually gotten for free. I figured this is the perfect opportunity to just cook this up and we'll throw it in at the end and it will really bulk up the meal. In a large skillet over medium-high heat, you want to add in a tablespoon or 2 of your favorite cooking oil, whatever you have on hand. I used olive oil. And then you're going to add your chopped sweet potatoes and onion, and we're going to cook that until it's lightly browned. That's about 5 to 8 minutes. Then add in 1 clove of minced garlic and cook that for about 1 minute until fragrant. Then you want to add in your vegetables. So I'm just adding in my tomatoes, about 2 cups of cooked chicken. So I did actually use about 2 cups of chicken here, which worked out perfectly. If you don't have like a whole chicken, you weren't cooking with a cold chicken before, any leftover chicken will do. Also a rotisserie is perfect here. So I have 1 cup of salsa and 1 container of black beans drained, as well as 1 cup of chicken broth. You can use bone broth, you can use bouillon. So if you have chicken bouillon, that's so cheap. So if you didn't make a chicken ahead of time and you're just using some leftover chicken, go ahead and use chicken bouillon. That is like the best replacement. That is so budget friendly. And if you don't have any of those things, a little bit of water and salt always works. You want to mix everything together and bring it to a boil. Then you want to cover it, reduce the heat, and simmer it for 10 to 12 minutes until your potatoes are tender. Now, it's my belief that if I had an extra sweet potato in there, it would have been less, soupy looking. There would have been less liquid, but this worked out perfect because the liquid was absorbed once I added in my cooked success rice packet. You could use plain white rice here or wild rice, whatever you have on hand. I think it would taste absolutely delicious. Everything mixed together was in phenomenal flavor. If I had some cilantro on hand, I would have totally sprinkled that over the top, or some fresh scallions would be good too. I served this with some sour cream and some fresh cheddar cheese, and the family was pleased. Now, that same night, I got started on my chicken spaghetti. That was the perfect thing to put in a casserole for the next night. Start by cooking your pasta. Any pasta that you like will do according to the package instructions. And while that cooks, we're gonna make up our sauce. I love this recipe because it's different than what I'm used to. I've never really made a creamy pasta with a diced tomato and green chilies before. And the flavor on this ended up being phenomenal. So you want 4 tablespoons of butter, and you want to place that in the bottom of a large saucepan on medium-low. Once your butter is melted, add 1 small diced onion and cook until softened. That's about 4 to 5 minutes. Add in 3 cloves of minced garlic and cook that for about a minute until fragrant. As always, if you don't have fresh onions or garlic, you can just cook some garlic powder and onion powder in the butter for just a few seconds to get fragrant, and then we can go from there. We're gonna create a sauce or a roux by adding in 3 tablespoons of flour. So if you have your onions, you just wanna get those thoroughly coated. If you're not working with onions and fresh garlic, you can just mix it around until everything comes together. You wanna slowly add in 1.5 cups of chicken broth, by stirring constantly until everything is well combined and the sauce is thickening. And then you also want to add 3/4 cup of milk in that same fashion. Once everything is really well combined and you have a nice thick sauce, you want to add in 4 ounces of softened cream cheese and 1 cup of cheddar cheese. And you just want to continuously stir this until all of that cream cheese and cheddar cheese is incorporated in your sauce. Now, the recipe calls for a can of diced tomatoes with green chilies or rotel, but I didn't have that. I happen to have 1 can of fire roasted tomatoes, which I love and I thought tasted delicious in this anyway, and a small can of green chilies. So I drained both of those and added those to my sauce, and it tasted delicious. So whatever you have on hand, you can always make it work. This is great because this is a sauce that is very easily made from things that you already have on hand. I didn't even need like a cream of mushroom or a cream of chicken. Oftentimes recipes call for that. This is basically making your own because it's really just a white sauce. I learned that in my last Extreme Grocery Budget Challenge. And then you want to add in chicken. So I just added the last of my chicken, which is about a cup of diced chicken. So it's definitely not the star of this meal, but it does add some protein. And if you have more, you can absolutely add more. I feel like you could even add a black bean or a can of corn to this and it would taste delicious as well. You just want to add in your drained cooked pasta, mix that all together. Then I'm going to pour this into a 13x9 pan and cover it with some mozzarella cheese. If you're working in like a cast iron or a Dutch oven, you can just actually pour the cheese right over top in that, and then you can bake it for about 15 minutes to just get the cheese bubbly on top. I added mine to my 13x9, then I covered it with some foil and I put it in the fridge once it cooled down so that I could cook it the next day. I cooked it for about 35 minutes on 350 and it heated up just nice. Next up, we're gonna make some potato pancakes with leftover mashed potatoes. This recipe starts with just some leftover mashed potatoes, surprise, surprise. So with these leftover mashed potatoes, I'm gonna make some potato pancakes for dinner. You just wanna take 3 cups or so, or I had what I had, of leftover mashed potatoes, 3 eggs in this, because these are actually gonna end up being a pretty hearty meal. So we end up with a couple of protein sources in here, which is pretty nice, and that way I didn't feel like I needed to really add a protein on the side once I was eating them for dinner. So you just want to mix those potatoes with those eggs really well. Then I'm going to add in a teaspoon or so of garlic powder, a half a cup of whole wheat flour. Now, I think you could use regular flour. I think that's just the recipe that I had to add whole wheat. And I added a third a cup at first. And you'll see I go back later and add a little bit more because I did want my potato pancakes to be a little bit thicker and a little bit heavier. And then about a cup and a half of shredded cheese. I happen to have cheddar, but you could use mozzarella. I think even like a pepper jack would taste good, Colby, whatever you have on hand. Make it easy on yourself. These are great leftover things, so you really don't want to go out and necessarily buy anything just to make it. And then a third a cup of either crumbled bacon or ham. I happen to have some ham on hand. And then a third a cup of green onions, or, you know, however much you have. I just sliced some up. And then I think in that case, if you had a red onion, if you slice that really small, that might taste delicious in this too. So I think just make it your own. If you want to add onion powder, you could do that too. Now, once everything is well mixed, I'm going to cook these in a similar style to pancakes. So I'm just using some olive oil over a medium-low heat, heating that up really well. And then I'm going to dollop my potato pancakes in there. The recipe said to shape them, but mine did not come out like that dry, and I really didn't want to add that much more of a flour to them because I really wanted them to be potatoey. So I'm just doing my best with what I have. They tasted delicious. Like, I don't know that I would have added more of anything in the future. I just think I just need to get used to cooking them in this method. You definitely want to cook these over that medium-low heat because you are going to cook them for about 5 minutes on each side. You want to make sure that they really are cooked completely through because there is egg in them. Same idea as you would with a regular pancake because there's usually, depending on the pancake mix or whatever you're doing for pancakes, sometimes there's egg in them. Either way, you still want to make sure your pancakes are fully cooked through, right? We want to do the same thing with our potato pancakes. This recipe makes about 12 small potato pancakes, and it was plenty enough for my family for dinner, and it was so good. Like, I was surprised. I thought they would be more of like a side, but then once I put the eggs and the ham and the bacon in them, like, or I didn't put bacon in them, but once I put my protein in them, I thought, well, gee, I'm not going to put an egg on top of this as well. So you can just eat that like with a little salad on the side, and it's absolutely perfect. They're so like crispy on the outside, warm on the inside, lots of flavor. I highly recommend it, and I would make them again 10 out of 10. Next meal, we are shopping the freezer. I am looking for what we have in here to add to some simple baked potatoes. I just have russet potatoes. I rub them in a little bit of olive oil and put a little salt on them. I also poke them with a fork, then put them on some parchment paper in the oven and cooked them at 425 degrees for about 45 minutes. Now, a baked potato is so versatile. I'm just serving it with what I have. I'm adding some of those bacon pieces. The kids actually ended up loving those. I did have some fresh bacon on hand too. I shredded up like the last tiny little square of cheese that I had and the last of some sour cream in a tub. So it's a great way to use up everything that is left. I also found in my freezer, what I was pulling out there was some chili that I had frozen, and I'm like, that's perfect just to put over a baked potato. Now, if you are buying these items at Walmart to make your baked potato, your potato is going to run you about 69 cents each. Chili is $1.24 for a can, and you probably use about a quarter of that. Broken down by serving, cheese is 23 cents, sour cream is 14 cents, and your total is $1.37 for one chili baked potato, and that is a fabulous meal. It is so good. Some other options are you could add some avocado, some salsa, and maybe some black beans and do like a fiesta baked potato or a Mexican baked potato. The options are endless when it comes to adding things that you already have around your house to a baked potato and making a whole meal out of it. We ended up just serving this with a salad from the garden, so that didn't cost us anything extra, and I was actually happy to use up some stuff that I found in my freezer. I was also hoping to maybe find some frozen broccoli, but I didn't have any, so that's also another option to add to your baked potato. And if you guys have ideas, feel free to please comment below on some great baked potato additives, because I would love to know.
Nom 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 nom. I give you 100 out of 100.
For
For me, this next one is pure nostalgia. This barbecue chicken salad sandwich we would pretty much have maybe every week or two in the summer growing up because we always made barbecue chicken.
And this is so simple. I have been doing this for years. My mom does it. I don't know if anyone's ever tried it, but you just take your already cooked barbecue chicken, cut it up. This can be any type of barbecue chicken. It can be on the bone. It can be a boneless, skinless, whatever you have. And then I am just going to add mayonnaise, salt, and pepper to taste. So put as much mayonnaise in this as you like. Honestly, it would also taste good probably without mayonnaise. If you just wanted to have a chicken sandwich with the barbecue sauce, maybe add a little extra barbecue sauce. Put that on your burger bun with some cheese, and you have a great leftover sandwich. So this is as simple as it gets, but it's quite delicious. And personally, I just love the fact that the mayonnaise mixes with the barbecue sauce, and I think that it adds like this like sweet and tangy flavor, and it is just really, really good. Also something that reminds me of childhood because, like I said, my mom always made it. And so the night after we would have like a barbecue chicken dinner, we would be able to have barbecue chicken salad sandwiches. And so luckily these burger buns and cheese or something was already in my fridge, and I was able to just use leftover chicken from when we went camping. And here is a super easy lunch. I was able to make 2 of these of what we had left.
The next leftover favorite is fried rice.
Now, the great thing about fried rice is that you can make it when you just have basically rice, vegetables, and maybe an egg. And that'll pretty much do it. As long as you have some soy sauce, you are ready to go. I'm making a little bit more of an involved fried rice this evening. I happen to have shrimp on hand because I got it on sale for I think less than $5 a pound. It's been in my freezer and I wanted to use it. I was thinking shrimp fried rice would be just right. But the amazing thing is you can even do, like I've heard people do a ham and pineapple fried rice, which I really want to try, especially maybe with some Easter leftovers. If you get some ham and pineapple left over, I think that would be quite delicious. So I am just dicing up a onion and some scallion. Again, if you don't have this stuff, you don't really need it. You can always use onion powder. It's not a big deal. I have made the most bare bones fried rice, and I don't know, I really had never heard a complaint about it. Like, everybody loves it no matter what is in it. And then I'm just cracking 2 eggs here, and I'm going to scramble up a couple of eggs. If you need to go more scarce, go 1 egg. It's still really, really good with even 1 egg. Or if you're going to do no meat and you have extra eggs, go ahead and throw more scrambled eggs in there, and that'll give you some extra protein.
Yes, this is an old one. Ben is turning 2 this week, but you know what? Can't get enough of that baby laugh and smile.
So I'm just putting about a teaspoon of butter in my pan here and melting that down over a medium heat. And then we're going to add in the egg to this. So you want to cook up the egg before you cook up anything else. I've also done it where I've cooked up the rice and the vegetables and then put the egg in the middle, like kind of like a little volcano, and scrambled it in there. I find that both methods work pretty well, but in this case, I'm just going to remove the egg. And this recipe's like just said use the same pan. It worked out fine. I know that wasn't like beautiful that the egg was on the bottom, but whatever. Ended up adding my butter right on top of that cooked on egg, and then I'm going to put my onion, and then I happen to have shredded carrots around, so I put about a cup. I added a little bit more after of shredded carrots because you know what? You can never have too many carrots. Carrots are healthy and they're delicious. I also love to use like a frozen pea in this. I actually was out of frozen peas in this specific instance, so I didn't end up adding any, but you can do that. You can do like the carrots and peas, really any frozen vegetables will do. And then we're going to do 3 cloves of garlic. And so I'm just going to throw in a little bit more butter here because I just feel like we need a little bit more oil. And you could always use olive oil or vegetable oil, or even coconut oil would be really good in this. So once those vegetables are really cooked up well, I'm adding in my shrimp, and now I'm adding in some pre-cooked rice. I think I did a couple of cups of rice, so it's quite a bit of rice, and this is 2 pounds of shrimp, so it's a lot of food here. You definitely don't have to make that much. Again, you definitely don't need shrimp as a protein, but if you are going to cook with shrimp, I recommend using this method because we're not going to cook it for too much longer now, and cooking it like this almost like steams the shrimp and does not overcook them. The thing about cooking with shrimp is like once you put those on a hot pan, they cook in like 2 seconds and they get overcooked really easily. A really perfectly cooked shrimp is so delicious, but an overcooked shrimp is leathery and tough, and it's not very good. I just added in my chopped scallions at this point, and then we're going to add in 4 teaspoons of soy sauce and just kind of mix that all around. And then I happen to have some oyster sauce as well. So I'm going to do 2 teaspoons of oyster sauce. But if you don't have oyster sauce on hand, that's not a big deal. Really, the soy sauce is all that matters the most. I've done recipes too with like hoisin sauce and I don't know, maybe fish sauce in it. Just there's different options for putting in your fried rice. I think I've even seen fried recipes without soy sauce. So it all depends on what you like and what you have on hand. That's why this is like if you see any of my like Extreme Grocery Budget challenges, it's so hard for me not to put a fried rice into every single one because 1, it's a hit in my family regardless of what you put in it. And 2, it's just so versatile. Like you can put anything in it. So leftover chicken, this is great for leftover pork. A lot of times I'll put like leftover chicken, like diced or even like turkey from Thanksgiving in the freezer. And then I'll take that out and I'll use that for a fried rice so that I kind of can make it at any time and it's fast. Like you see how quickly this is coming together. I had made like that 5-minute rice like way earlier. Also, the recommendation on rice for this is to have rice that's actually cold and in the fridge, and maybe you made a little extra from a day before or something from a different meal, then reuse that rice for fried rice, and it comes out a lot better because it's like not sticky, you know. So I'm just cooking this over medium heat, making sure that all those shrimp get steamed up and cooked up and that my rice does actually get a little bit fried. And then I'm going to add in the egg at the end. And this is our amazing shrimp fried rice. Like this is so, so good. And it's good with chicken too. It's good without chicken. It's good with pork. So whatever your favorite protein is, go ahead and add that in, or you can do extra eggs or none of that. If you are vegan, this is a great vegan recipe as well.
For more ways to use what you have on hand and stop wasting, click on this next video and make sure the next time you're on YouTube, you're watching Meals with Maria.